The pounding on the cabin door came like gunfire, sharp and furious against the midnight silence. Travis Boone snatched his rifle, heart hammering. Certain outlaws or Comanche scouts had come to finish him. When he threw the door wide, the barrel leveled at chest height, it wasn't a raider he found, but a woman, drenched from rain, clutching a crying baby in her arms. Her eyes burned with desperation, her lips split fresh, her knuckles raw like she'd fought her way through hell just to stand there. The baby wailed, thin and hungry, echoing across the prairie louder than any war drum. Travis had lived 10 years without another soul at his table, and now fate had delivered 2. Fragile, trembling, and hunted. Out in the dark, horses moved closer, and he realized midnight had brought him a choice that could cost his life. What he did next would decide whether the widow and her child lived, or whether the night ended in blood. He kept the rifle steady, the woman's chest heaving as she shielded the child from the cold. Water streamed down her shawl, dripping onto his wooden floor. She looked like she'd collapse if the wind so much as leaned harder against her. "Please," she whispered, voice raw from dust and distance. "Don't send us back out there." Travis's finger pressed against the trigger guard, but something in her tone struck deeper than the storm clawing at his shutters. She wasn't begging for herself. Her arms tightened around the child, rocking with desperate rhythm, and he caught the faint smell of milk souring in the damp. "Inside," he muttered, voice low as gravel. She stepped past him, boots squelching, and nearly fell onto the chair by the fire. The child's cries quieted to soft hiccups as she pulled the threadbare quilt higher over his face. Rain hammered the roof like 1,000 hooves, each strike a reminder that nothing safe lurked outside. "What's your name?" Travis asked. "Evelyn," she said, glancing up just long enough for him to see the defiance hiding under exhaustion. "Evelyn Carter. This is Samuel." The baby whimpered, his tiny fists clutching air. Travis tossed on 2 more logs, flames snapping and throwing orange across her bruised wrist. He felt his stomach twist. "You picked the wrong ranch," he said, though the words felt hollow. "Folks don't come here." Her mouth tightened. "I didn't pick it. My horse collapsed. Yours was the only light." Outside, the wind carried a sound no storm could mask. Hoofbeats, muffled but growing, each one landing in Travis's chest like a drum. Evelyn froze, clutching Samuel so tightly he squeaked in protest. "They found us," she breathed. Travis crossed, "And maybe we let you keep breathing." Travis felt his jaw clench. They knew his name. They knew his house. Evelyn's eyes locked on his, wide with terror. "If you send me out, they'll kill him first," she whispered, kissing Samuel's damp forehead. "They'll make me watch." Her words hit like a hammer. Travis looked at her again, not just at the bruises, not at the torn shawl, but at the way she held her son like he was the last piece of a world already gone. He could shove them out the door, claim no part in this. He could save himself. That was the smart choice, the safe choice, the choice he'd made for 10 long years, keeping the world outside his fence line. But the hoofbeats came closer, and the men outside began to laugh, cruel and certain. Travis reached for the rifle, checked the chamber. His voice when it came was steady, iron hard. "Then they'll have to go through me." The widow's eyes filled, but not with fear. Something else flickered there, fragile as firelight. Hope. Outside, spurs jingled, leather creaked, Rifles clicked into readiness. The cabin walls groaned under the pressure of men circling like wolves. Travis Boone braced his back against the door, rifle leveled, heartbeat sinking with the storm. Midnight had delivered more than a widow and a child. It had delivered war to his gate. And as the first boot crunched against his porch, Travis Boone knew the night would not end quietly. The first boot scraped against the porch, heavy and deliberate. Travis Boone raised his rifle higher, the stock tight against his shoulder, and listened to the creak of leather and the muffled laughter drifting through the rain. Whoever these men were, they moved with the certainty of hunters who believed their prey already cornered. "Boone!" The same voice barked again, closer now. "We'll count to 3. After that, we break down that door and drag her out by her hair." Travis leaned back just enough to whisper toward the hearth. Evelyn sat stiff in the chair. Samuel pressed to her chest, her knuckles white against the threadbare quilt. "Stay low," he muttered. She nodded once, eyes glinting with fear and fire. 1! The word cracked like a pistol shot. Rain hammered the shutters, and the baby whimpered softly. 2! Travis shifted his weight, breathing slow, steady, just like his father had taught him before the war. His finger rested against the trigger, eyes fixed on the thin line of light beneath the door. 3! The door shook as a shoulder slammed against it. The iron bolt groaned. Travis fired. The gunshot exploded through the cabin, deafening in the close space. The blast punched a hole through the door frame, and a cry rang out on the porch. Boots scuffled, curses filled the air, and then came the sound of a body crashing into the mud. For a heartbeat, silence. Then another voice snarled, "Kill him!" The cabin erupted with chaos. Rifle butts smashed against the shutters, glass shattered, and bullets splintered the wooden walls. Sparks jumped from the hearth as a round ricocheted off the stone. Evelyn ducked, shielding Samuel with her own body, whispering frantic prayers into his hair. Travis moved with grim precision. He swung the heavy oak table onto its side, creating a rough barricade. Another shot ripped through the cabin, splinters grazing his cheek. He ignored the sting and loaded another cartridge. Through the smoke and rain, a face appeared at the window, hard eyes beneath a soaked brim. Travis squeezed the trigger. The man toppled back with a strangled yell, his hat spinning into the mud. But for every one he dropped, 2 more pressed forward. Their boots stomped against the porch, their voices rising with cruel confidence. "You can't win, Boone," the leader shouted. "Hand over the woman, and we'll let you keep your miserable hide." Travis's laugh was bitter, echoing off the cabin walls. "You boys rode all this way for a widow and her child. You sure you want folks to know that?" The taunt bought him a sliver of silence, just enough for him to glance at Evelyn. Her eyes met his, something the raiders didn't. This land was his. He'd built every log, dug every trench, cut every stone, and he'd buried enough ghosts here to know where a man could stand and fight. He barked at Evelyn. "Cellar trapdoor, under the rug, hide him there."
She hesitated, eyes wide, then scrambled toward the corner, pulling the rug aside to reveal the wooden hatch. She lowered Samuel into the dark, her trembling hands smoothing the quilt around his tiny face. The baby whimpered, but the storm outside swallowed the sound. Evelyn pulled the hatch closed and looked back at Travis, her chest rising and falling fast. Another crash shook the door. This time, wood cracked.
Travis slid another round into the chamber. His voice was steady as stone. Stay behind the table. If I fall, you run. Don't argue.
She opened her mouth to protest, but the fury in his eyes silenced her.
She crouched low, gripping a kitchen knife she'd snatched from the counter. The door burst inward. Rain and gun smoke rushed the room as two men charged through, revolvers raised. Travis fired once, twice. Both men collapsed onto the wet planks, their blood mixing with the storm water flooding across the floor. Another silhouette loomed in the doorway, and Travis swung the rifle like a club, the stock cracking against a skull with sickening force. The fight became a blur of thunder and screams, of fists and steel, and the choking smell of powder. Travis's arms burned, his ears rang. But he did not stop.
Evelyn shouted warnings, pointing as shadows flanked him. Once, she hurled the knife across the room. It buried itself in a raider's shoulder, buying Travis the half-second he needed to finish him with cold iron. But numbers told the truth. For every man who fell, more pushed through the storm. Boots stomped across the floor, hands clawed at Travis's rifle. A blow to his ribs stole his breath, and another smashed against his jaw. He staggered, vision swimming.
A revolver cocked inches from his head. "Time's up, Boone!" the leader snarled. Rain ran down his face, dripping from the brim of his black hat. His grin was wolfish. "Step aside! She belongs to us!" Travis spat blood onto the floorboards, his body trembling, but unbroken. His finger tightened on the trigger, though the barrel was pinned against his chest. "You'll have to bury me here first." The man sneered, and then the night shifted. From outside came a sound none of them expected.
From outside came sound neither inspected. Not 6, not 7, dozens. A rolling thunder across the hills, cutting through the storm like a war drum. The raiders froze, their eyes darting.
The storm seemed to hold its breath as the new thunder rolled across the hills. Dozens of riders poured out of the dark like shadows given flesh, their horses' hooves striking the earth in unison. Torches flared, cutting streaks of fire through the rain. The raiders inside the cabin faltered, their leader's grin fading as the sound grew louder, closer, unstoppable. Travis Boone shoved the man's revolver aside with a sharp twist and pressed his rifle back into the outlaw's chest. "Looks like you've got company," he growled. The leader's eyes darted to the door, his sneer trembling. "Not them! Damn it! Not them!" Evelyn pressed herself against the barricade, knife in hand, eyes wide with terror. "Apache," she whispered again. "It's their war party." The men who had stormed Travis's home only moments before now looked rattled, shifting like cornered animals. They knew what it meant when torches burned at midnight and war cries split the storm. From outside came a voice, powerful and steady, cutting through the rain like an axe through timber. It spoke in a tongue Travis had heard only in fragments on the frontier, but its meaning was clear. The leader cursed under his breath, backing toward the door. "They want her," Evelyn said softly, her voice cracking. "They've tracked me all this way." Travis looked at her sharply, but there was no time for questions. A shrill cry pierced the night, a war whoop high and fierce, and the walls of the cabin rattled with the echo. The raiders panicked. One bolted for the back window, another shoved past Travis, scrambling for the porch. The leader snarled, grabbing his pistol from the floor. "Better the Apache than you, Boone," he spat, and leapt into the rain. Gunfire cracked outside. A scream followed. Travis pushed the broken door wider, squinting into the storm. Dozens of mounted warriors circled the cabin, their painted faces lit by the glow of fire. Their weapons gleamed, bows strung, rifles loaded, tomahawks lifted high. The outlaws who had come for Evelyn were scattering like rabbits, and the Apaches cut them down with terrifying precision. Lightning split the sky, revealing the chaos in blinding detail. A raider toppled from his horse, an arrow in his throat. Another stumbled into the mud, scalped clean before he could rise. The leader fired wildly into the dark, but 3 warriors closed on him at once, dragging him from his saddle. His scream carried only a second before the storm swallowed it. Travis tightened his grip on the rifle. He'd seen battles before, back east, when the war between states had carved boys into corpses. But this was different. This was raw, primal justice written in fire and blood. And then the circle turned toward him. The Apache riders slowed, their torches lifting high. They surrounded the cabin, horses snorting steam, eyes fixed on the broken doorway where Travis stood. Evelyn rose halfway from behind the table, breath coming in sharp bursts. "They'll kill us," she whispered. "They'll take Samuel." Travis glanced at her, then back at the wall of warriors. His voice was low, steady, though his heart pounded. "Not if we stand." The lead warrior dismounted, stepping into the torchlight. Rain streaked down his painted face, his chest broad and scarred. He carried no rifle, only a tomahawk that looked older than the cabin itself. His gaze settled on Travis with the weight of judgment. The man spoke in careful English. "You hide woman, child." Travis swallowed, forcing himself to meet those dark, unreadable eyes. "She came to my door. I didn't ask for this fight." The warrior's expression did not change. He took another step forward. "She belongs to us." Evelyn gasped, clutching at the quilt-draped hatch where Samuel slept. "No, he is mine!" The warrior's eyes flicked toward her, then back to Travis. His voice deepened. "The boy carries our blood. She carries our shame. You give them now, or you die here." The words hit Travis harder than any bullet. He looked at Evelyn, truly looked at her for the first time. The black strands of her hair plastered to her cheek, the sharpness of her features beneath exhaustion, the way her eyes had always carried a secret she had not spoken. Apache blood. The storm thundered again, but the silence inside the cabin was heavier. Evelyn's chest heaved as she shook her head violently. "They'll kill him," she cried. "They'll take him and raise him as a trophy, not a son." The lead warrior slammed the butt of his tomahawk against the earth, a sound like thunder beneath their feet. Behind him, 30 riders echoed the motion, their voices rising in a chant that shook the night. Travis lifted his rifle, barrel steady despite the tremor in his hands. "No one takes a child from his mother while I draw breath." The warrior's face hardened. He raised his tomahawk high, the signal to strike. Horses reared, warriors cried out, and the circle tightened. Evelyn clutched Travis's arm, her nails digging deep. "We can't win," she gasped. Travis's jaw clenched, his voice a growl. "Maybe not, but they'll remember we tried." The first arrow slammed into the doorframe, quivering inches from Travis's head. Flames from the torches roared brighter as the storm poured harder. And in that crucible of fire, rain, and blood, the cabin at the edge of the Texas hills became the center of a war no man had chosen. Yet one, Travis Boone, could no longer walk away from. The storm and the chanting of the warriors collided into one relentless roar. Travis Boone braced against the shattered doorframe, rain soaking his shirt, rifle heavy in his hands. Around him, the circle of Apache riders pulsed like a living wall of fire and steel. Each torch glowed brighter, reflected in painted faces that held no mercy. Evelyn clung to his arm, her nails dug into his sleeve as if she could tether him to life itself. Her voice cracked, a rasp between sob and plea. "Please, Travis, they'll tear us apart." He didn't answer. He couldn't. His whole body was drawn into the silence that fell in the instant before violence. His father once told him that every man lives his whole life in the seconds before battle begins. In those seconds, truth shows itself. The lead warrior raised his tomahawk again, the signal clear. Horses reared, hooves striking sparks from stone. The chant swelled, then broke into a deafening cry as the first wave surged forward. Travis fired. The crack of his rifle split the chant, and one warrior tumbled from his saddle, torch spilling into the mud. The others roared in fury, tightening the circle. Arrows thudded into the doorframe, two more, shattering glass and sending shards spraying across Evelyn's hair. She covered her head, but refused to move from his side. Another rider charged, tomahawk raised high. Travis ducked, swung his rifle like a club, and the wooden stock collided with the man's ribs. The warrior fell hard, but before Travis could recover, a second arrow seared across his shoulder. He staggered back, biting down a cry of pain. "Travis!" Evelyn screamed, her hand catching his arm to steady him. Blood mixed with rain, soaking through his shirt, but he raised the rifle again, jaw locked. The warriors pressed closer, circling, their torches now an inferno of light. Then came a sharp cry from their leader. One command, and the attack slowed. The warriors pulled their horses into a trot, forming a wall around the cabin. The leader stepped forward again, tomahawk gleaming. "You fight for her?" he said, his English low, heavy. "You fight against death for woman, not your blood." Travis spat into the mud, his voice hoarse. "She asked me for shelter. That's enough." The warrior's dark eyes narrowed. He lifted his hand, and silence rippled through his men. Then he pointed to the trap door beneath the rug where Samuel lay hidden. "The child is ours. His blood is ours. You stand in the way of his destiny." Evelyn's sob cracked through the storm. She lunged forward, hair plastered to her cheeks. "He is mine. Mine to raise, mine to love. You'll never." Was different, brighter, lined with symbols that spoke of authority. The circle parted for him as he dismounted, his boots splashing in the mud. The leader stiffened, lowering his weapon reluctantly. "Father," he said in their own tongue. The older warrior stepped closer to Travis and Evelyn, his eyes scanning them with a depth that made Travis's skin prickle. He saw everything. Travis's bloodied shoulder, Evelyn's trembling arms, the faint cries muffled beneath the floorboards. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but carried like thunder. "No child is a trophy." The younger leader bristled. "He carries our blood. He must be raised among us." The elder shook his head slowly. "He carries more than blood. He carries choice. That choice is not ours to take." Murmurs spread among the warriors, their chants fading into uneasy silence. Evelyn stared at the old man, tears streaming, unsure whether hope or despair gripped her. Travis kept his rifle raised, though his arms trembled. His voice came rough but steady. "What happens now?" The elder warrior looked at him, and for a long moment there was no storm, no war cries, only the weight of two men measuring each other across the gulf of history and bloodshed. Finally, the elder spoke. "The night will decide, not us, not you, the night." With that, he raised his hand. The warriors lowered their weapons, torches dipping. The circle loosened, though danger still hung heavy in the air. The younger leader's face twisted with rage. "You would betray us for them?" "I would not betray our people," the elder said, his gaze like iron. "But I will not let us become the monsters we claim to hate." Lightning flared, illuminating every scar, every line in the old man's face. The storm howled louder, as if the land itself listened to his words. And in that suspended moment, Travis Boone realized the battle was not over, it had only shifted. For now, the widow and her child were spared, but the night had not finished its judgment. Somewhere beyond the storm, destiny waited, patient as the land itself. The rain eased, but the silence it left behind felt heavier than thunder. The Apache circle lingered, torches dripping, smoke curling upward like ghostly fingers. Travis Boone stood in the broken doorway, rifle lowered now but still ready, every nerve alive. Beside him, Evelyn clutched the edge of the trapdoor, her eyes swollen with fear and defiance. Somewhere below, Samuel whimpered softly, the sound muffled by wood and earth. The elder warrior remained in the mud, his presence commanding more than the torches or the storm. His son, the younger leader, paced like a caged wolf, fury etched into every movement. "He is ours," the younger man snarled, his English thick with venom. "The boy must walk our path. That is his destiny." The elder's eyes never left Travis. "What would you do, frontiersman? Will you raise a child not your blood, hunted by two worlds?" Travis felt the weight of the question settle like an iron yoke across his shoulders. He glanced at Evelyn, at the desperation etched in her face, at the fire that still burned beneath the exhaustion. Then he looked at the trapdoor, where Samuel lay hidden. The boy was no kin, no duty of his, but in that moment, Travis knew the truth. "I'll stand," he said. His voice was rough but steady. "As long as I breathe, no one takes him." The younger leader barked a laugh, bitter and sharp. "One man against nations? You will die before winter ends." "Maybe," Travis admitted, sliding another cartridge into the chamber. "But I won't watch a child torn from his mother. Not tonight." The elder warrior studied him a long time, rain dripping from his braids, eyes reflecting firelight. At last, he turned to his son. "Destiny is not given. It is chosen." The younger leader spat into the mud. "And if his choice brings war?" The elder's face hardened. "Then war will come because of us, not because of him." For a moment, silence stretched taut as a drawn bowstring. Then, with a curt gesture, the elder raised his hand. The circle of warriors loosened. Horses pawed the earth, riders murmured, the chant dissolved into uneasy quiet. Evelyn's knees buckled with relief. She dropped against the barricade, clutching the knife like it was the only thing holding her upright. "Thank God," she whispered. But the tremor in her voice betrayed that she knew this reprieve was fragile, temporary. The younger leader glared at Travis, his eyes promising vengeance. "This is not over, Boone. The land remembers. Blood remembers." He wheeled his horse, splashing mud as he rode into the storm. One by one, the other warriors followed, until only the elder remained. He stepped closer, close enough that Travis could see the deep scars lining his chest. "You carry no blood of ours," the elder said quietly. "But tonight, you carry our respect. Do not waste it." Travis met his gaze, unflinching. "I'll do what a man must." The elder gave a single nod to his horse. Without another word, he rode into the night, torches vanishing one by one until only darkness and rain remained. Inside the cabin, the silence was deafening. Evelyn collapsed onto the chair by the fire, her hands shaking violently as she pulled open the trapdoor. Samuel's cries rose sharp and raw, filling the room. She gathered him close, burying her face against his tiny body, tears streaming freely for the first time since she'd appeared at Travis's door. Travis sank onto the floorboards, back against the wall, his shoulder burning from the arrow's graze. He laid the rifle across his knees, staring into the flickering fire. The storm outside was fading, but inside him, a different storm raged. He had broken his own vow, the vow to live alone, untouched by the world's cruelties. By opening the door, by standing with the widow and her child, he had stepped back into the fire he'd sworn to avoid. And yet, he felt something he hadn't in 10 long years. Purpose. Evelyn's voice broke the quiet. "Why did you do it?" Travis looked up. Her eyes were swollen, her hair plastered to her cheeks, but her arms cradled Samuel with a strength that defied the storm. "Because you knocked," he said simply. Her lips parted, and for a moment, there was no fear between them, only recognition. Two souls carved by loss, bound now by the fragile thread of survival. The fire crackled. Rain dripped steadily from the eaves. Somewhere out on the prairie, wolves howled. Travis Boone leaned his head back against the wall, his eyes never leaving the widow and her child. He knew the danger wasn't gone. The raiders would return, and maybe the Apache too. The land never forgave weakness, and tomorrow would bring its own reckoning. But tonight, in the dim light of the cabin, with blood still wet on the floorboards and a child's cry echoing through the storm, he knew he had chosen, and there would be no turning back.